What's going on, everyone? Welcome into Granville High School. We're here for round one of the Division III playoffs, Division III Region 11. The Granville Blue Aces 7-3 taking on the 7-3 Sheridan Generals. So an MVL, LCL crossover matchup here in round one of the playoffs. And both of these teams, excellent football teams, really came on near the end of the year, and it's going to be a really good one here tonight. Will Ford here with you with Storied Rivals Sports Media live on Facebook, X, and YouTube. We really appreciate you making us a part of your football Friday night, and the playoffs are here, man. It's going to be really exciting. We're going to take you through all of our games that we're at tonight in Central Ohio, Southeast Ohio. Playoff football is here, man, and we'll take you through those games near the end of our show. But let's talk about both of these teams, and we'll start with the visitors and the Sheridan Generals, because the last couple of weeks for them, it's been quite a roller coaster, to say the least. You go into Tri-Valley, or you're at home against Tri-Valley in Week 9, a team that you've lost to the last couple of years, lost 7 of the last 10 in that rivalry, and it's a chance to be in the driver's seat and claim a share of the MVL Big School Division Championship. And up until a couple minutes left in that game, it looked like Sheridan might sneak out of there with a win and be MVL champs. But Tri-Valley was able to, take things to overtime, and Tri-Valley won in double overtime, 35-29. That's an emotional heartbreaker. Tons of ups and downs for Sheridan, really for both teams, but especially for Sheridan, given, the position that they were in to potentially be league champions. And you lose that game, and not only does it suck to not win your league championship, but you lose to your rival, and that's a tough spot to be in. And so then how do you rebound to then in Week 10 play your Perry County rival, play in the Perry County Super Bowl against the New Lex Panthers, who were 9-0 and seemingly on top of the world, looking for 10-0, just utter dominance throughout their regular season, running clocks in virtually all their games, I think all except 2. Unbelievable what New Lex has done this year, being back-to-back small school division champions. And you go out there and you defeat a 9-0 football team 31-21. And that game, Sheridan had some stops defensively, but only got 3 points out of it. They were up 3-0, and then New Lex marched right down the field and scored. They're up 7-3, and you can kind of feel that momentum swinging towards New Lex. And Sheridan got an excellent kickoff return for a touchdown, 88 yards by Logan Russell, their lead back, 1,400 yards this year, 17 touchdowns, and he's been outstanding, but got a huge return in the return game, and that swung the momentum back towards Sheridan's side, and they never let go of that momentum, and they took down the 9-0 New Lex Panthers. They're 9-1 as they enter the Division IV playoffs. They do have a first-round bye, and now Sheridan riding a high, 2 emotional weeks in a row. Now they've got to raise the level even more as the 9 seed taking on the 8 seed in the Granville Blue Aces. And for Granville, they don't win their league championship this year. They're 7-3, maybe slightly down record-wise. Graduated a ton of talent from last year, but their defense has tons of experience. Their linebacking core and really their front 7 in general is terrific. You've got the Kirby brothers at the linebacker positions really holding things down, along with several other really good guys. But, I mentioned Kirby. Kyle Kirby has been an absolute stud this season. And 1,800 yards, 27 touchdowns. He had 300 yards in the season finale against Mount Vernon and 2 touchdowns. just an unbelievable year for him, and he's been an unbelievable player for the last couple of years. But also for Granville, they returned one of their key weapons from the last couple of years of teams. Went out in week 4 with a collarbone injury, returned in week 10, and Jakob Culver, welcome back, 2 receiving touchdowns, and he looks like he's never missed a beat. And that collarbone injury, that's tricky to try to come back from in the same season. So a tremendous job by him to get healthy, play well for the Blue Aces, and now he's ready to go for this playoff run. It just really seems like a matchup. Coach Hinton's Blue Aces, Coach Culver's Generals, really 2 pretty evenly matched teams. I mean, dominant run games. This is going to be a physical football game, and I really cannot wait to see this transpire tonight. And Granville and Sheridan have played 3 times since 2015, so 3 times in the last 10 years, and Sheridan's won 2 of them. They've won the last 2. So in 2015, these 2 teams met up. Week 1, Granville won 24-21. They played in Week 1 of 2016. Sheridan won 35-23, and their most recent matchup was in 2018, and that was in a Division III regional semifinal where Sheridan won 20-7, and then Sheridan would end up losing in the regional final the following week. But now, 7 years later, these 2 teams are going to do battle again here in the playoffs. So let's talk to head coach Paul Culver III of the Sheridan Generals about the emotional last couple weeks for his football team, and now they have to raise their level again as they take on this Granville Blue Aces football team. We also talk about the excellent play of their dynamic playmaker, Logan Hupp, who has played some quarterback, but they line him up at wide receiver. He can carry the football as well. He scores in so many different ways. It impacts the game in ways that not many football players can. He is a matchup nightmare for opposing football teams. Talk about him as well. But here is Coach Culver of the Sheridan Generals live here on Facebook, X, and YouTube with Stadium Drive, week number 11. Thanks for being here, and here is Coach Culver of the Sheridan Generals. Noticed in the Tri-Valley game, and then I don't know, I wasn't at the New Lex game, but I'm not sure if you did any of this or not, but I know at Tri-Valley, Tice obviously played most of the game at quarterback, but there was a stretch kind of in the second half where Logan Hupp was in at quarterback, and he was making a lot of plays, and I feel like he has just been excellent the last couple of weeks. And I know he got banged up against Tri-Valley, but he just seems like he is the best football player on the field whenever he has the ball in his hands, whether he's throwing it, running with it, catching passes, whatever it is. But do you plan to, you don't have to spoil the whole game plan, obviously, but do you plan to maybe use Tice and Logan? I'm not saying split it 50-50 or anything like that, but are there packages in place where, hey, if we get to this spot in a game, we might insert Logan in here at quarterback and just kind of mix things up a little bit?
So I certainly don't have all the answers, but I do believe that football at a higher level is about matchups.
Mm-hmm.
So the NFL is constantly, that's why they have so many substitution rules, because you can create different matchups that give you an advantage. So you have to allow the defense. If I have a tight end, your linebacker can't cover him, but now you roll in a safety. Well, I can block your safety because my tight. So like matchups. And for us, I feel fortunate to know that we have quarterbacks that create matchups. Had we gone into New Lex running a spread offense, I firmly believe that's what their defense is designed to stop.
Mm-hmm.
They are very good at man coverage. They are very good at the things that you have to do to take away a spread offense. And so having something like my dad's offense, the old timers in the crowd and people that I bumped into, like, I haven't seen those in a while. And I'm like, they're still here, right? We still run them. And so it creates matchup problems. And, did you practice against it that week as a defense? And that was something that we had used some, but we hadn't fully unveiled until Tri-Valley and New Lex. And so Logan does a great job with that variation of our offense. But the thing is that he's just as valuable as a receiver. I mean, 45 catches and however many rushing yards and PATs and things like that from getting him out in space. And so it's a classic example of, if you put Logan under center, then defenses go like this. They're right on top of you, right? Well, you better have some misdirection and some option looks and things where you don't know where the ball is. I said this, Storied Rivals would have it, but on Logan Jones's touchdown, Puppy went the other way and my eyes went with him. And I was like, ooh, I remember the last time I didn't know where the ball was in my own offense, right? Like that's that dynamic. And so that's terrific. But Tice does a great job running our spread, and he can get the ball to Huppy and spreading things out gives Logan one-on-one chances, Logan Russell, right? Like how many – if we can block up the box, we can block the D lineman and the linebackers. Is safety going to tackle him? Not very often. So it's just a question of matchups and how we feel we fit against Granville.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Granville, I mean, it's going to be a great matchup, but I think it's going to be one, too, that's going to be really physical because Logan Russell is a great running back, and Logan Jones, obviously, when he gets his carries, he's physical, too. But you're taking on Kyle Kirby, who's got 1,800 yards, almost 30 touchdowns, and I would say he's almost kind of similar to Levi Wade, except he's a couple years older and he's about 4 or 5 inches taller, and he's probably got another 30 or 40 pounds on him. I mean, he is a tough kid to bring down. I've seen him play a couple times. How do you plan to stack the box against a kid like that? Of course, you can't commit all your resources to him because they do have good weapons on the outside. And Jakob Culver, the receiver they lost in week 4 to a fractured collarbone, he came back last week and had 2 touchdowns. So it seems like he's back as if he's never missed a game. You have to account for that too, but Kirby is certainly the centerpiece.
No doubt. Most teams have an identity, whether it's the quarterback or a premium receiver like the Ricketts kid at Watkins that you're trying to get the ball to, and Kirby is a build an offense around him tailback, and so you have to be gap sound in the run game, but they formation you enough that they're going to create difficulty for you to fill all the gaps, right? And he finds the way he runs his inside zone is very patient, similar to New Lexington, like he's plugging and prodding. Probing is the right word, like poking holes at your defense. And man, if he gets a crease and is north-south in a heartbeat on your safety who weighs 165, 170 pounds and he weighs 215 or whatever he does, that's a bad matchup. And so it has to be no big seams, right? Like if he is squirting through, it's because he's slipping off tackles, and that gives the safety time to get down and keep it to a 7-8 yard gain instead of, it happened in the scrimmage. He's into our secondary at full speed in a heartbeat, and not too many safeties are going to bring him down. So you can't let that happen. Well, then that means your safety's in your corner squeeze. Well, then now they're putting the ball on the outside, and they have excellent wideouts. Quarterback has a good arm, and now we're playing chess, like 2 moves ahead, 3 moves ahead, and that's what makes it fun.
Now, you mentioned the scrimmage. Obviously, that was 2 or 3 months ago at this point. How much of an advantage does that give you, knowing that you've seen at least what their bases look like from an offensive and defensive standpoint? Obviously, the teams now are way different and everyone's battle tested and things have changed, but does it give you an advantage at all knowing that you've seen at least what the basis of everything looks like?
You can say it is an advantage because I'm glad that we've seen them, but at the same time, like they've seen us. So
right.
it would be a wash in that
double-edged sword in that way. Yeah.
Sure. Would I have rather scrimmaged them than not? Yes. Sure. So in that sense, it is an advantage. You don't want a complete unknown. I think one of the things that has given us, and it's probably true for every team, given us an advantage when we do get into the playoffs is from a league standpoint. You have teams that see you yearly on a yearly basis. They know most of your wrinkles, especially if the coach has been there for more than 3, 4, 5 years, right? They've seen every variation, every check. They know your checks on defense unless you change things up. And so Granville, we have scrimmaged them several times. And so there is some familiarity there. But at the same time, like losing the receiver that they did and then relying on the Kirby kid, they're in very different formations. They're in what you would call like a heavy personnel weeks 8, 9, and 10, as opposed to the scrimmage. I don't remember seeing double tight end sets. So will they use that? Probably. Will they, now that they've got the receiver back, will they spread it back out again? That's the chess match, right? Like we're not the same, they're not the same, but you do have some idea.
The full interview with Coach Culver is up on YouTube and Facebook. We posted that yesterday morning around 8:30. So if you want to hear the full conversation, about 15 minutes or so, please go check that out. Always love talking to Coach Culver. And his mission tonight is stopping the one and only Kyle Kirby, probably the best player in the LCL. And we'll take a look at his season stats. 228 carries this year, 1,800 yards, 8 yards a carry, averaging 184 yards rushing a game, 27 touchdowns. That's through weeks 1 through 10, the regular season right there. And he had a 300-yard performance on 33 carries, 2 touchdowns in the season finale against Mount Vernon to push them to 7-3 and give them the 8 seed here in these Division III Region 11 playoffs. And it's going to be really interesting to watch how Coach Culver tries to approach this defensively, because traditionally he's known for having great defenses and stopping the run. But it's difficult to stop the run when you also have to account for other skill position players that Granville has that are good football players. And we'll take you through a few of those players right now. He's got to stop guys, at quarterback. Jackson McMillan is completing 59% of his passes, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns, doesn't turn the ball over a lot, 5 picks. And his freshman receiver, who really stepped up in the absence of Carter Ryan, he is just outstanding, and I think he's going to be dominant for years to come. Just shy of 500 yards receiving this year, 5 touchdowns, but he has become a go-to target. And I talked about Jakob Culver. Well, he is back in the lineup, wearing number 1 for the Blue Aces. He had 2 receiving touchdowns against Mount Vernon, and he stands at 6 foot 175. Just a tremendous football player, and I'm really interested to see him back out on the field. Obviously played great last week, being a big-time threat receiving touchdowns, but collarbone injuries are tricky, man. Anytime you try to come back from something like that and you take a hit, it's kind of scary at first. And now that he knows he can take a hit, I'm sure he's got all the confidence in the world, and I'm excited to see this chess match between Coach Culver's defense and Coach Hinton's offense. And speaking of Coach Hinton, he's got some guys that he's got to try to account for as well. And namely, their running back. Like I said, the running games that both of these teams have they're really the identity of both football teams. And Logan Russell has been outstanding for the Generals. He's got 1,400 yards, just shy of 1,500 yards rushing on a little over 200 carries, 7 yards a carry, almost 150 yards rushing a game, 17 touchdowns. He himself has been outstanding and the second best running back in the MVL behind Levi Wade this year. He's been tremendous, but that's not the only weapon. I talked about Logan Hupp. He has been outstanding too for the Generals, and of course Tice Whiteman does a good job in the spread offense, distributing to guys, and his main guy is Logan Hupp. They also have a great backup running back in Logan Jones, who has played well in recent weeks. But let's talk about Tice and Logan Hupp here. So Tice obviously battled some injuries first part of the season. He was a little banged up, right throwing shoulder. His completion percentage isn't super high, but it's also a smaller sample size. So had he played the whole season, that completion percentage is probably up a little bit. But 844 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, only 2 picks, so he doesn't put the ball in harm's way very often at all. And Logan Hupp has just been tremendous. And against Tri-Valley, he had 3 touchdowns, 3 different ways: passing, rushing, and receiving. He is unreal. 587 receiving yards, 13 total touchdowns when you add up receiving and rushing. And he's also got a couple passing touchdowns too. Just a tremendous football player and a matchup nightmare. And you heard Coach Culver talk about there are going to be packages in place where if there is a matchup that Coach Culver likes, Logan is going to be lined up in different spots on the field, whether it's at wide receiver, in the slot, with Tice in the backfield. Maybe he is playing quarterback. It's going to be just such an interesting chess match to watch. But let's talk to head coach Heath Hinton of the Granville Blue Aces about matching up with these Generals. And these two teams scrimmaged in the preseason. And so these teams have a general idea of kind of what the base offenses and defenses look like. And so let's hear Coach Hinton talk about, what he sees with the Generals. He also shares his thoughts as well on the smaller playoff field this year, because it's only 12 teams in the playoffs instead of 16 like it had been the last couple of years, dating back to COVID 2020. So let's talk to head coach Heath Hinton of the Granville Blue Aces here on Stadium Drive, week number 11 on Facebook, X, and YouTube. Hinton, Granville football going into week 11, round 1 of the Division III playoffs, taking on number 9 Sheridan in the first round at home. And I appreciate you joining us, Coach, for another week here with Storied Rivals. And first, I want to ask you, Because I'm curious your thoughts, and I'm sure coaches have different thoughts on this. But the last couple of years, the playoff field has been 16 teams.
Sure.
But I'm sure a lot of people thought that's way too big, and the discrepancy in terms of talent on 1 seeds versus 16 seeds is a lot different and whatnot. And so we shrink it down to 12 teams this year. The first 4 teams get buys, and then seeds 5 through 8 get home playoff games, and so on and so forth. What are your thoughts on this 12-team field that we've shrunk down to?
Yeah, I think it's really good. I think it's different. I've talked to some of the coaches that actually have a bye right now, and I've talked to those guys, see what they're doing in case it ever happens to me. But I'm kind of glad that we're kind of in the midst of still playing and in the midst of games.
Sure.
We're relatively healthy, so it's kind of fun to continue that momentum after a big win last week, and continue that momentum. Into this week. And I think, some of the guys brought up, the college football playoffs, what happened there with teams that had buys. I'm sure it might not happen that way here, but, it's just different. People hadn't had to adjust to it yet. I like we still get a home game. For us, it's still good. It's great for us and our fans, our community, and our seniors and our team to still get a home game. So it's nice.
Yeah. Now you mentioned being relatively healthy, and you got one of your big pieces back last week. And when we talked, mid-season, you didn't think you were going to get Jakob Culver back from that collarbone injury, and he's back. He had a couple scores last week, so welcome back, Jakob Culver. But what's given the thought that you didn't think you were going to get him back? How nice is it to have him back? He's got a game now under his belt. He's taken some hits, so he knows he can take a hit. And now you've got him for this playoff run.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. It's awesome for him. He struggled last year, having a similar injury, set him out the rest of the year. And he came back this year, relatively, healthy all the way through, and until that week 4 matchup. Losing him was a big, crushing blow, but it also gave opportunities to other people. Other people on offense, other people on defense. Carter Ryan stepped up there, the freshman.
Yeah.
How durable, how well he would do, and he's doing really well. And it kind of adds another piece, and it adds another piece to our depth. But really happy for Jakob. Just come in, not even get a couple catches, come and get a couple scores, and be an impact person early on in that game was awesome for him.
Now to have Culver, and you mentioned Carter, who has been just huge, and as a freshman, just seems like he's going to be a dominant receiver for 4 years. But to have both of them on both sides of the field, I mean, how cool is that for your quarterback and for your offense to add that extra layer of I guess like another weapon really to use for you on offense that complements that run game that you have with Kyle.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to add weapons, add guys that that bring a lot of value. They still block down the field a little bit. They get in people's ways, and they do a good job. And now defense has got us. If we put them on one side together, now they got to defend two really good players, and then you put them on either on opposite side of each other. Now you got to defend the whole field, and then you got Kyle with the running game, and really the people that don't get a lot of credit is our offensive line. They're keeping Jackson clean and healthy. They're keeping Kyle, the linebackers off the D line off of him. He gets a second level, and he's hard to bring down.
Now, talk to me about this matchup with Sheridan. I'm sure you've already started looking at film and everything, and you're preparing and getting ready for them. But they've played 2 highly emotional games the last 2 weeks. 2 rivalries, one against Tri-Valley, where they lost in a heartbreaker in double overtime, and then their Perry County rival, New Lex, who's had an outstanding season. They prevent them from reaching 10-0, and New Lex has been an outstanding football team this year. So 2 highly emotional games, and then now you have to step into playoff mode, and maybe you could argue the last couple weeks for them kind of have been playoff games in a sense for them in terms of the emotional nature, but also must-win games. Now they take on you, and they're a very dominant, physical running team, and Logan Russell is their lead back, who's got over 1,000 yards rushing this year, and they're dominant, they're physical, they've played highly emotional games. What are your thoughts on the Generals as they get ready to come to your place this week?
You know what? It's kind of cool because we already scrimmaged them, our first scrimmage. So it's neat to have that kind of, you understand where you were then, you understand like kind of their base stuff. But, they just seeing them then in person, they're big up front. We were really inexperienced at the time, but they're big up front. They have big running backs, and big skill guys. I just think that they're a very solid offense and even better defense too. They run the ball, they tackle well. The emotions of games, I think it kind of, are they going to carry it on? I think they will. They have really good coaches over there. They're going to get them prepared. It'll be really play on another road test for them and ready to play that game. So, eventually in the playoffs, you're going to have to win on neutral sites or away sites. So,
sure.
I think they'll be ready to go. It's going to be a great atmosphere. There's not that many games around in town area. I think hopefully be a big crowd for us. And, that community over there has loved football for so long. And our community does such a great job supporting us. It's going to be, like I said, an awesome atmosphere.
Now, what's your message to the team, for the playoffs? Because last year you had a super talented team, and you have a talented team this year. But last year's team maybe didn't make it as far in the playoffs as a lot of people maybe projected them to, just because your quarterback Beckett gets suspended a game, and that changed the entire outlook of how your season could have ended if you had him. What's your message to the guys on this year's squad to keep a level head, not let some of that outside pressure and noise get to them, and just kind of treat it as business as usual, even though it is a playoff game and it's win or go home? What's your message to the guys this week?
Right now, we're battle tested. We've lost some games, lost some close ones too. So we know how it feels to lose and how much work it takes to stay in it. So, kind of our message this week is, we're a different team. We have, we have some great leaders right now with some guys that were, Kyle was a captain last year and really stepped it up this year. We have another, some other captains that are, other seniors, but also have another junior captain that's kind of leading the way also. So, it's really nice to get that leadership, the continuity together. It's nice to have my staff together for 2 years. Wes did a great job. After taking over, it kind of gives you that after that first year is kind of your buffer year is kind of really get sold on, how I do it. And we kept a lot of things similar, but, it's a little bit different. I feel really proud of this team and, the struggles they went through. We've been young and inexperienced, but, our senior leadership has really put us in the right perspective and the right, make everything about the team. So.
Well, we're excited to watch a great football game on Friday at your place at Granville, taking on the Sheridan Generals. And I appreciate you making time for me, Coach, at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, man. Love talking football with you, and best of luck against Sheridan and on your playoff run.
Hey, thank you so much.
We're almost ready. We're almost ready for some playoff football. About 40 minutes until kickoff here at Granville High School, Walter Hodges Stadium. And the Granville Blue Aces and the Sheridan Generals going to do battle. But let's take you through our playoff schedule for round one of the playoffs. We usually have these divided up by East, Northeast Ohio, Central, Western Ohio. But instead, we're going to do it by division. So we'll start with Division 1. We've got 2 games in Division 1, Region 2. We've got number 7, Hilliard Bradley, hosting number 10, Dublin Jerome. Marysville sneaks in as the 12 seed, looking dangerous. They're on the road at Springfield. Springfield has been great in the playoffs. Their postseason success the last few years has been tremendous. That's Division 1 Region 2 as well. And then 2 Division 1 Region 3 games, Westerville Central and Upper Arlington will go to battle, 6 seed versus 11. And number 5, Olentangy Liberty. They won 6 in a row before falling to Olentangy Orange in Week 10. The state champs hosting number 12, Newark. Again, that's Division 1 Region 3. And 2 teams that we cover have first-round byes, Olentangy Orange, 10-0 season, OCC Central champs, led by Levi Wade, Lucas Fickle, head coach Wes Schrader, former Granville head coach. They're the 1 seed, and number 4, Olentangy. Both have byes in Division 1 Region 3, and it's going to be really interesting because if all the Olentangys win in the playoffs, then they're all going to potentially face each other later on in the playoffs. It's going to be unreal, those Olentangy rivalries. And then on the right side of your screen, we'll go to Division III. Hamilton Township gets a share of their league title after a win last week against Logan Elm. They take on Independence. And then, of course, our game here tonight, Granville Sheridan. Now, let's get the rest of our games on our schedule. Divisions 4, 5, and 6. We'll start with Division 4, top left. Philo, a 10 seed, on the road at Circleville, number 7 seed. And we've got a couple byes in Division 4. You've got New Lex, number 1 in Division 4, Region 15, and Jonathan Alder is number 3 in Division 4, Region 15. The top 4 seeds get first-round byes. I also forgot to mention that in Division 3, Tri-Valley, the number 4 seed in Division 3, Region 11, they have a first-round bye this week. And then on the right side of your screen, Division 6, or I'm sorry, let's move down to the bottom left, Division 5, the Union Local Jets at Afrocentric in Division 5, Region 19. And then in Division 6 on your right, you've got Garraway, huge win over Ridgewood last week. They're the 7 seed, and they host Mineral Ridge. Ridgewood will be on the road as the 9 seed, taking on number 8 Newcomerstown. That'll be a good one. And then Grandview Heights had an outstanding season up until the last few weeks of the year. They've been ravaged with injuries, and they'll look to try to keep their season alive against Toronto in Division 6, Region 23. Ridgewood and Grandview Heights are Division 6, Region 23, and Garraway is Division 6, Region 21. So there are our matchups for the first round of the playoffs here with Storied Rivals football coverage. And Granville and Sheridan will kick off here in about half an hour. Can't wait. And thanks so much for joining us here for Week 11 coverage with Storied Rivals, and each and every week throughout the regular season and playoffs for the last 3 years now that we've been doing this. We really appreciate all of your support. And happy Halloween, everyone. I didn't mention that up at the top. We're in football mode all the time that you kind of forget that days like this sneak up on us. So happy Halloween. Hope you all have a safe time trick-or-treating with your kids and everything like that. And get some great candy. I wish I was young enough to still trick-or-treat. But anywho, have fun out there. Be safe. And if you guys want to check out our Halloween merch, we should have it on our pages. Go check it out. It is on sale. Go get yourself a T-shirt or hoodie and rep Storied Rivals, the green and purple for Halloween. But I'll hop out of here. Kickoff for Granville Sheridan about half an hour. Follow us on all the socials for highlights and score updates throughout the nights on all the games that we're covering for the first round of the playoffs. And I'll see you guys in round 2 for Week 12 of Stadium Drive here on Facebook, X, and YouTube. Will Ford signing off with Storied Rivals Sports Media. Take care, everyone. Happy Halloween and happy football.